tuning into ZBC TV. You are watching yet another informative edition of your program, Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness. And I'm your host, Wadzanai Manyore. So this is a platform where we talk of challenges and issues in the agricultural industry in Zimbabwe. And in this particular episode, we have decided to focus on investing in human capital planning in Zimbabwean agriculture. And joined with me today to discuss this and more is Mudumeni Mukuru, Mr. Craig Evan. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, and how are you?
I'm okay. As we get into the program, what does human capital planning entail in agriculture? Its essence, its importance.
Yes, like any other business, we are taking farming as a business,
That's
right?
true.
So in any other business, for you to be productive, you need to invest in your people, the people who will be working on the farm.
Yeah.
It's not a case of just picking anybody just because they are cheap. If a particular job requires a qualified person, it's important to get a person who's qualified, a person with the skills required to deliver whatever type of a job is required.
Yeah.
If you take, for instance, say tobacco growing,
Yeah.
if you're a tobacco farmer, you don't just have to go to Musha or any other farm where there is no tobacco taking place and just get the people to do your production. You need a person who's skilled in that field, a person who knows how to transplant tobacco, because it's a science. It's not just a crop which you just take and place in the soil. You need to have a person who is skilled to do that. So, like any other industry, you have to make sure that you hire the rightful person with the rightful skill and pay accordingly. Because the other thing is you might get a skilled person to do the job, but at the end of the day, you find that that person has failed to deliver just because it's cheaper. But if you pay for the skills, you get the right people to do the right job, and at the end of the day, you achieve your targets. Because farming is about targets. Where you are looking at 3 tons per hectare in terms of tobacco, or 10 tons per hectare in terms of maize, you have to make sure that you achieve those yields in order for you to be profitable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, Mudumeni Mukuru, we understand that the human resource is a resource that is fundamental in production. With the prevailing economic conditions, we find that at our farms we have casual laborers, we have permanent employees. Maybe just your comment, what's your take on the prevailing economic conditions? Definitely, you might find that it may be difficult for farmers to employ someone permanently or at the same time to have casual workers. Either way, how does it affect production on a farm? Permanent or casual, either way.
Yeah, it has got a negative impact,
Yeah.
particularly if you look at the economic environment.
Yes.
Because once you start thinking of money ahead of production, you find that you lose it somewhere along the line. Because when it actually comes to productivity, you are doing your planning. What is it that you want done on the farm? Who is going to do it? The skills required, everything. You lay down everything you want, and then you hire people accordingly. And then you just have to agree, sign a contract on the money you have agreed. Because the problem here is you have a target which you want to achieve.
Yeah.
And then if you start thinking of how much you're going to make and how much you're going to pay, you end up getting the wrong people. So if you work according to your plan, in the sense that you have put your people in place,
Yes.
and you have signed contracts and the amount agreed, so that when a person completes that type of a task or a particular task, you just pay them accordingly and instantly.
Yes.
Just because if you actually drag in paying the person, if you look at our economy, you find that maybe by the time you're trying to pay the person, maybe things will have changed and the like. So really, it's important that, particularly the casual people, make sure you agree and pay them according to the agreement. If they are permanent, well, that's fine. With permanent workers, it's important that they are there permanently. But when it comes to economics, one thing I've realized with most farmers is that you employ a person,
Yes.
tractor driver, for instance,
Yes.
you agree on a wage to say, okay, after or every month I'll be paying you maybe $250 or something like that.
Yes.
And then come month end, there's no money. just give, say, oh, okay, things are difficult, you see at this farm, things are not well, I'll give you $100, and then the other 150 I'll give you. You know, that demoralizes a person. So don't allow the economic situation affect the performance of your people. Whatever it takes, make sure you try by all means to pay your workers, because that's the only way you can motivate them. Look, they're family people. They need money to send people their children to school. They need food, clothing, you know, all sorts of things. And don't forget the African life. You've got extended family who are looking upon you, whom you are supposed to look after as well. Yes. So really, giving him or her the money you've agreed on time will motivate them and will also make the people behind that person enjoy life as well. Just because that's the person or the breadwinner who's looking after all those people.
Yes. Now, Mr. Even, as we were talking, you alluded to the fact that underpayment of your laborers or going against your contract. Say, like the example you gave, you had already talked to a tractor driver and you told him that at the end of the month I'll pay you $250. But now, because of the economic conditions, can you just cite, mainly you spoke of demoralization, you know, making someone think twice. He's working at your farm, but he's no longer dedicated to deliver fully. How does it affect production? How does it affect the productivity of your other resources that are, being utilized by the human resource?
You see, there are several factors here, but possibly we can look at two.
Yes.
If a person is not being paid on time,
yes,
what happens is they might look for part-time jobs somewhere else to your neighbors.
They are no longer fully dedicated.
Exactly.
Yes.
Where actually they can go work for an hour or 2 hours, they get paid, and then they come back and do your job. So your job, if you look at it, it's no longer the prime to him. It's now a secondary thing,
yes,
whereby he's spending his time doing something for other people, piecework, so that he's able to, or she's able to be paid. And then after that, they said, oh, okay, I've got a job to do, and they come back and do yours.
Mr. Even, I'm just going to cut you short. Viewers, we are going on a short commercial break. We'll be right back in the second segment. Stay tuned. This is the second segment of your program, Agricultural New Directions Agribusiness, and I'm your host, Wadzanai Manyore. Today I'm with Mr. Craig Even. We're talking of investing in human capital on our Zimbabwean farms right here in the industry, in the agricultural industry. Earlier on, before we went to the break, Mr. Even told us about the two effects that mismanagement of human capital has on production, how it affects productivity on a farm. Now, Mr. Even, I'm going to come back to you. The second effect, the first one was dedication. Obviously, the employee has now two minds. He is looking for other ways, other means of survival. At the same time, he's working for you. The second effect that you might cite for the sake of our viewers at home.
Yeah, still on the first one, yes, you find that maybe on your farm, you're offering your workers accommodation.
That's true.
Right. And so what will make that person try and come back and do that bit for you is because there's accommodation effect here. So they are benefiting on the accommodation at the expense of production on a farm.
Yes.
You see, yeah. So the other one, some people, they can go for months without paying their workers.
That's true.
And how do you expect your workers to survive? I've alluded to earlier on that they've got families to look after, their, yes, breadwinners. So exactly. So what happens is these people or these workers, they might end up stealing from you. It can be
your maize,
your inputs, your fertilizer, your chemicals, your seed, oil, diesel, spares, you name it. They can actually just pick anything, sell, just to make their ends meet. So really, you can't blame the worker just because they're stolen from you and sell, just because you're not looking after them.
That's true.
But once you start looking after them, they become the guard of your farms and or the security officers for your farm. They become your eye and your mouth as well, because you are looking after them. They look after your property. They make sure you produce so that the farms start producing money, so that at least they're able to be paid or to be looked after.
Yes.
So really, it's very critical that a farm worker is paid as per agreement and on time.
Yes.
And to make them to motivate them even further.
Yes.
If you assuming that in the contract there's no bonus element promised to the worker, it's always nice that you've harvested, you've produced, you've sold, you've made profit. It's nice to call them around. Guys, look, we made a little bit of a profit, so I'm paying you, a little performance bonus. Yes. And then everybody is happy and they are motivated. So really, you find there are lots of small things which can make a farmer happy, which can argue through making your workers happy. Just looking after them. Small ratios, just a bit of vegetables, a bit of carpenter, mealie meal. We know it's expensive, but you're investing in your people, yes. Right? Protective clothing, worksuits, overalls, gumboots, safety shoes, gloves, raincoat. All those little things. At the end of the day, they add up. Your person actually is happy and motivated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, Mudumeni Mukuru, I understand that in Zimbabwe, even world over, agriculture is an evolving science. It is a social science that is evolving. New technologies are coming in, and obviously there's always the need to keep your employees, your laborers, your human resource relevant and efficient. What are some of the ways that you can cite that can keep your employees relevant and still efficient, being able to produce at a farm?
Yeah, there are several ways to go around that.
Yes.
We are looking at training itself.
Yes.
If you look at technology like you are referring to, there are lots of machinery coming up, lots of implements coming up. So it's pointless to buy a state-of-the-art machinery or implement, put it on the farm without, training your staff. It's important, even if it means to send your employee to Germany or wherever, to China or Japan. Please do so that that person is trained. Because one thing I've realized on a farm is the owner of the farm who goes for training, and further that person is train the trainer, so that this person comes and trains his workers. And the element, if you ask them, says, oh, what if he disappears? No, he disappears because they're not investing in them. Mm-hmm. By just sending somebody to a college for a short course or even a full-time course, when that person comes back, you look after them, they'll also pay back in one way or the other. Yeah. And without even saying you are going to be working for me for a minimum of 5 years before you decide to, so that I recoup all the money which I've spent. No, you have invested in that person, and if you are in good books and you look after that person, you also make sure that your money comes back which you have spent on training and the like. Yeah. Looking at there are new crops coming up, new varieties coming up. Chemicals, fertilizers, everything is new. So sampling, analysis, you name it. There's a lot happening in the world of science, and agriculture cannot be left alone. So make sure you invest in your human capital by sending people or your workers to short courses. If you want to go, nothing wrong. Join them and go and be part of the classes, because it doesn't pay. Because the way I teach and the way you are going to teach your employees is different, totally different. The way I'm going to deliver, people might understand it easily, and then when you actually trying to do it, it might be different. And at the end of the day, what you have paid for your money in terms of the training and in terms of the human capital will not pay at the end of the day.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, still on that matter, I would like just to comment on that definitely when you invest in your human capital, send them for trainings, etc., you understand that person's mindset shifts. He comes back to you as an asset. And definitely this is how our Zimbabwean farmers, our different stakeholders in the industry need to understand. It is crucial for them. Now, we are talking of human capital, human resource as a fundamental production factor. Definitely, there are some factors that come with it. There are some essentialities that you cannot ignore. How can Zimbabwean farmers fully utilize the human resource? I'm not saying exploit the human resource, but fully utilize, because there are some areas where you understand that you have your rates. For example, in maize, you understand that you might need 3 laborers for weeding. But at the end of the day, when you do the farmer's cash flow, you might end up realizing that he has actually utilized 10 people per hectare. So we are talking of utilization to the fullest. How do they, without exploiting them, of course?
Yeah, it's true. Exploitation of human people is not right at all. You need to make sure that people actually work within the specified times, hours rather, and the enforcement putting them as well be minimum, if not zero at all. So really, it's important that you understand the fundamentals of labor, or the number of people or labor required per specific area. For instance, in farming, we use 1 hectare. If it's tobacco, you should know at any given operation, you should know the number of people required to do that. Don't talk of minimum number of people, don't talk of maximum number of people. Talk of the required number of labor per hectare for a particular operation. You look at seed maize. Seed maize, you need a particular number for people to detassel. Then put the right number. Because if you put the minimum number or less, it means people are going to spend more hours, and at the same time, you find that there are going to be there'll be a lot of work in terms of break periods. Say you want to break for tea, you want to break for lunch. You try to minimize the times, just because saying instead of 1 hour for lunch, says, no, let's do it in 15 or 20 minutes so that we come back and finish, or we cover up and the like. So that can cost the farmer at the end of the day, because a person, if it's overused, they stop, the efficiency actually goes down. It affects the efficiency, and when it comes to performance, really, you find that it compromises your quality as well. So, detasseling seed is very critical. It's a very critical operation. If people fail to detassel it properly, it means your seed is going to be contaminated. At the end of the day, the performance. So the whole value chain is affected.
Yes, on that note, Mr. Even, I'm just going to cut you short. Viewers will be back in the third and final segment of your program, Agricultural Interaction. Stay tuned. Thank you, viewers, for staying tuned to ZBC TV. You are on your program, Agricultural New Directions Agribusiness. In this particular episode, we are talking of investing in human capital in Zimbabwean agriculture, on our farms rather. Right before the break, Mtumeni Mukuru, we were talking of how to utilize your labor fully, but without exploitation. You were talking of detasseling in our commercial, in seed maize rather, as being critical, a critical level of production in the production of seed maize. I'm just going to give you a few seconds to finish that off, then we'll move on to the second question.
Yeah. Besides looking at sophisticated operations like that, and probably desuckering in tobacco, as simple as weeding. You put less people on a unit area or per hectare to do the weeding. The human mind also gets tired before it starts doing the work, because they look at the area they are going to cover. Say, so eventually, when the person actually gets in with that negative mind already, what they are going to do is just to cover up, take soil, cover the weeds, and move on and finish the work. It's because you have actually put less people on a bigger area. So really, I'll just conclude by saying it's always important to make sure you put the required number to carry out a particular operation per unit area.
Right. Right now, you alluded to the fact of employees maybe end up doing an operation in the wrong way, not being diligent as they'll be working. This leads us to another question of monitoring and evaluation. What kind of techniques and methods that a farmer can employ to monitor and evaluate his laborers on his farm?
You know, it's very simple.
Yeah.
On the farm, you put a foreman,
Yes.
right? A foreman follows behind the people who are working. But don't forget, the foreman is also a human being. It's also a person, right? Would want to go and relieve himself. Would want to go and take a short break. Also gets tired and the like. So along the way, you find that there might be some mishaps and the like, you know, in the way the people actually operate. And then it's important again that you have got a qualified and well-experienced manager who monitors the foreman as well, and the foreman monitors the farm laborers. So at the end of the day, if you look at that chain, you find that efficiency actually plays an important role. One. And then if you look at another way, it's a bonus system. Come up with a way of honoring your people. I'll give you one example of irrigation. You've got your sprinklers. I'm not talking of center pivot, sprinklers. Right. Most farmers, actually, they say there's a set bonus per hectare or total area, right, being irrigated that particular time. Where you say, okay, I'll give you $20 on efficiency on your irrigation system as the water is irrigating. And then each time a nozzle is not working, I take $1 out.
Okay.
So you find that a person who's monitoring the system is actually walking up and down, making sure that the pressure is correct, making sure that discharge of the water is correct, making sure that they are all working. And then if actually the supervisor or the manager comes and finds this, or any sprinkler not working at any time, you sign that you have found at fault, and
that's $1 off.
Yeah, that's $1 off. So that alone will make sure that the people are efficiently. Yeah. And you find again, say in weeding, say any weed which comes up, because when you are actually setting these targets, you know who is where, because there's always record keeping and the like, right? So after 3-4 days, I come behind where you have weeded and I see some weeds coming up, maybe $5 off your bonus, something like that. So there are always ways of monitoring or improve performance without even a supervised following, just because you have got a technique to monitor and evaluate the performance of your laborers. You know, performance appraisals, it's not only in the industry. Let's not forget that farming is an industry in its own right. So have some monitoring and evaluation system in place, whereby you're saying, guys, this is our target, and each one is going to be monitored and evaluated according to their task. And then at the end of probably every month or 6 months or 12 months, depending on your target, right, you go and monitor and evaluate your people, and then performance-wise. And then at the end of this, say, okay, we have managed this, and whether you've underperformed or overperformed or performed according to your plan, and then there's got to be a reward system in place, whereby, say, production bonus or performance bonus related, and then make sure when you promise people, it's just like promising your child. If you promise your child and you don't honor your promise, the child will never trust you as a mother or as a father.
That affects them very much.
Exactly. So in this case, once you promise a performance reward to your farmer, to your workers, make sure you honor that. And once you do that, no one will actually take your labor away from you. And finally, I want to say, it's important for the farmers to know each other, to sometimes get together in the event that, you know, some people want to move from one farm to the other. That will prevent a lot of stuff, unnecessary movement of workers, stealing workers from each other. And do you know what? When it comes to inputs, fertilizers and the like, people can steal from you and sell to the neighbor. Even cattle, they do that. So once you're working as a consortium, as farmers around, you find you can avoid theft, you can avoid moving around of laborers and the like, uncontrolled in an area.
Yes, thank you. There you heard it, viewers. We're talking of human capital planning in agriculture. Thank you for gracing this platform with your presence, Wadzanai Manyore.
Thank you.
Yes. So from me, your host, Wadzanai Manyore, and the crew behind the scenes, have yourselves a pleasant evening.